Chapter 6. We start an automaton chain. I glanced nervously around me. The entire city was asleep. I realized that we were truly alone. A bunch of demigods with a crazy titan trying to take over the world. War would start soon. I knew that for a fact. And we would be the only ones left to defend Olympus. I glanced over to Percy, who was talking with Argus, who drew a circle in the air with his finger. "Yes," I told him. "I think it's time." "For what?" Percy asked. I watched Argus rummage through the back of the strawberry van until he pulled out the shield. He gently handed it to me, and as I set it on the ground, the silvery reflection showed the Statue of Liberty, which was in a totally different place. "Whoa," Percy said. "A video shield." "One of Daedalus's ideas," I explained. "I had Beckendorf make this before." I looked up sadly at Selena for a moment. Anyway, the shield bends sunlight or moonlight from anywhere in the world to create a reflection. You can literally see any target under the sun, or moon, as long as natural light is touching it. Look. I vaguely noticed everyone crowd around me as I concentrated. Suddenly, the shield's image moved and spun quickly past Central Park, then past Bloomingdale's, and it turned on 3rd Avenue. "Whoa!" Connor Stoll said. "Back up! Zoom in right there!" Uh-oh. Were there invaders already? "What?" I asked nervously. "You see invaders?" "No! Right there! Dylan's candy bar!" I rolled my eyes as Connor grinned and glanced at Travis. "Dude, it's open and everyone is asleep. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" I saw Travis open his mouth, probably to say something like, "Totally, let's go!" But Katie Gardner scolded them first. "Connor, this is serious. You are not going to loot a candy store in the middle of a war." I completely agreed. "Sorry," Connor muttered, but he didn't look very guilty. Travis turned red. Some campers say that Travis and Katie have something going on between the two, but it wasn't really my business, so I stayed out of that stuff. Especially because Percy and I have the same thing, where other people start rumors about us being together. Of course, they were right. I did like him, but I would never admit it. At least, not unless I was sure he felt the same way. I passed my hand in front of the shield, and FDR Drive popped up, across the river from Lighthouse Park. "This will let us see what's going on across the city," I said. "Thank you, Argus. Hopefully we'll see you back at camp. Someday." I had quickly added the last part. I might never see camp again. My one true home. Even more than in San Francisco. But I decided not to let the sadness get to me. It wasn't going to make any difference. Percy whistled for Mrs. O'Leary, and she immediately came bounding over. Her tail the size of swimming tubes floaty, wagging behind her. "Hey, girl," he said. "You remember Grover, the satyr we met in the park?" Wait a minute. He'd found Grover. Thank gods. "Woof! I need you to find him. Make sure he's still awake. We're going to need his help. You got that? Find Grover." I stifled a laugh as the hellhound gave Percy a big, spitty kiss. I came back over to the shield as some other conversation went on. We were running out of time, and I needed to see where invaders would show up. I traveled around a bit, at least the video did, until I spotted some boats in the distance of the water. When I zoomed in, I realized there was a whole army of demigods. At the back of the lead boat, a huge banner that represented Kronos blew in the wind. "Percy," I called, "you better see this." After realizing the situation, Percy had hurried to me. "Scan the perimeter of the island, quick!" The scene shifted south of the harbor. Near Ellis Island, a ferry was plowing through the water, carrying monsters. I felt my eyes squint angrily at the sea demons that had almost taken Percy's life last summer. They were going to pay for that. Percy asked me about the time outside of Manhattan. Was the whole state asleep? I explained to him what I thought, on how there was probably an area around where everything was slowed down. Then we saw the Jersey Shore at the entrance of the Lincoln Tunnel. I looked more closely and found that I was right. Everything was in slow motion. I watched a puppy slowly lick a car window, while its owner applied makeup, barely moving. "Kronos," Percy said. "He's slowing time." "Hecate might be helping," Katie suggested. "Look how the cars are all veering away from the Manhattan exits, like they're getting a subconscious message to turn back." "I don't know," I said, frustrated. When there was something I didn't know, I needed to know it. But somehow they've surrounded Manhattan in layers of magic. The outside world may not even realize something is wrong. Any mortals coming towards Manhattan will slow down so much they don't even know what's happening. "Like flies in amber," Jake Mason compared. I nodded. We shouldn't expect any help coming in. I felt hopeless again. And lonely. Everyone looked scared and stunned, except Percy, who got that angry, protective look on his face. The same look he had when anyone threatened to hurt his friends. "All right," Percy said. "We're going to hold Manhattan." Percy?" Selena said, tugging her armor. "Manhattan is huge."
"We are going to hold it. We have to."
Percy was so determined, I could almost believe it. "He's right," I said, backing him up. "The gods of the wind will help keep Kronos away from Olympus by air. So he'll try a ground assault. We have to cut off the entrances to the island."
"They have boats,"
Michael Yu pointed out helpfully. Percy shivered and then said,
"I'll take care of the boats."
"How?"
"Just leave it to me," he said surely. "We need to guard the bridges and tunnels. Let's assume they'll try a midtown or downtown assault. At least on their first try. That would be the most direct way to the Empire State Building."
He went on telling different cabins where to guard. When he told the Aphrodite cabin, one of the girls said, "Oh my gods! Fifth Avenue is so on our way. We could accessorize and monsters totally hate the smell of Givenchy."
"No delays," Percy replied. "Well, the perfume thing, if you think it will work."
I watched in horror as 6 Aphrodite girls kissed him on the cheek. He barely knew them, and they had just done it. Yet it had taken me a while to get the guts. I guess since it really didn't mean anything to them, it didn't really need preparation. Another part of me felt a pang of jealousy. He was going to be mine someday, and nobody else's. I really needed to make my feelings clear soon, before I regretted it. Another went to kiss him, but luckily he said, "All right, enough," sounding only a little bit annoyed. He went on until he said, "The 59th Street Bridge, Clarice." He paused, realizing the Ares cabin wasn't here. "We'll take that," I stepped in, saving him from an embarrassing moment. I appointed my second in command, Malcolm, to lead the Athena cabin. "You got it." "I'll go with Percy," I said. "Then we'll join you. Or we'll go wherever we're needed." I couldn't hide my blush when someone in the back of the group said, "No detours, you two." When I looked at Percy, though, he seemed like he hadn't noticed. Or maybe he had just waved it aside. I hoped the first one.
"All right," Percy said. "Keep in touch with cell phones."
Selena protested that we didn't have cell phones due to monster tracking. Well, except for me. Percy told them to use mortal phones and then drop it to throw monsters off so nobody would be tracked. After a small argument with the Hermes cabin, they concluded that they wouldn't steal people's phones. Jake Mason brought up that Percy had left out the Lincoln Tunnel, where most of the monsters were armed. Maybe if we took one person from each cabin to form a group. From across the street, a voice that I recognized so well yelled, "How about you leave that to us?" I glanced at the group of girls coming towards us. Bows ready, combat boots, white shirts. The hunters. Leading them was one of my best friends, Thalia. She was wearing a Death to Barbie t-shirt under a black leather jacket. She had a circlet that looked like a princess tiara on her head that told she was the leader. I grimaced, remembering the same circlet on Zoe, the previous leader, who had sadly died right in front of me due to her father, Atlas. At least he was holding up the sky and was something we didn't need to worry about. "Thalia!" I cried. I hadn't seen her in forever. Not since a year and a half ago. It was kind of weird that we were about the same height now, after remembering when I was 7 and she was 12. But at the same time, I sort of liked it. It made me feel even closer to her somehow. The hunters of Artemis reporting for duty. Thalia grinned. She had a warm welcome. The other hunters did too, but they sort of stayed back. They weren't big fans of campers, especially boys. Where have you been the last year? Percy asked the daughter of Zeus. You've got like twice as many hunters now. She laughed. Long story. I bet my adventures were more dangerous than yours though, Jackson. Complete lie, Percy told her, and I silently agreed, remembering a few dangerous incidents last summer. But at the same time, I didn't know what Thalia had been busy doing. We'll see, Thalia promised. After this is over, you, Annabeth, and me. Cheeseburgers and fries at the hotel on West 57th. Like Parker Meridian, Percy told her. You're on. It was good to have something to look forward to. It lightened my mood a bit, but we had a long while of work first, that any of us might not survive. Those monsters won't know what hit them. Hunters, move out, she shouted as she slapped her bracelet, and Aegis spiraled into form. Lucky for me, I'd gotten used to that Medusa head on the front, but the other campers, including Percy, backed away a bit as they took down the avenue. Thank the gods, I said, breaking an awkward silence. But if we don't blockade the rivers from those boats, guarding the bridges and tunnels will be dangerous. Percy nodded his head. You're right. His expression turned grim, and he looked at all of the campers individually. I had the feeling he was thinking about whether or not he would see them all again. But he put back on that comforting smile and told us, You're the greatest heroes of this millennium. It doesn't matter how many monsters come at you. Fight bravely, and we will win. He raised his sword. For Olympus! Everyone repeated him louder, and there was a moment of echo where our voices were the only things heard. I have to admit, it did sound heroic, at least until our voices were drowned out by the unnerving silence, leaving me feeling emptier. Everyone scattered off to defend, while Percy and I searched for a car. Sadly, they were all wedged together, impossible to get through. We wouldn't have been able to drive them anyway. The streets were too clogged. Finally, we came upon a red Vespa, with an owner sitting on it. Sorry, dude, Percy told him, even though he was asleep. I highly doubted he would get his scooter back. I couldn't stop the butterflies that formed in my stomach when I held onto Percy's waist to keep myself from falling off the back of the Vespa. His hair blew in the wind, his deep eyes scanning the surroundings that we came upon. He had slightly chapped lips, as usual, and his cheeks were a bit flushed. Stop turning into an Aphrodite girl, Annabeth, I cursed myself silently. But it's true, that's the way my brain went whenever I was with Seaweed Brain. It was like the ocean. I was too far into the waves to turn back now. I was really falling for Percy Jackson. We had to help mortals, and dogs, from danger a few times if they were in front of vehicles that could begin to move, or if something were on fire, we would put it out. When we were passing Madison Square Park, I told Percy to stop the vehicle. I jumped off and ran towards the park, hoping he was following me. When I came to the statue, I stopped, and Percy came up behind me and said, Why do we care about... He glanced at the inscription. William H. Stewart? Seward, I corrected. He was a New York governor, minor demigod, son of Hebe, I think. But that's not important. The statue is what I care about. I ignored the weird look Percy gave me and studied the base of the statue. I was surprised to hear Percy had figured it out when he said, Don't tell me it's an automaton. I smiled at him. Turns out most of the statues in the city are automatons. Daedalus planted them here just in case he needed an army. To attack Olympus or defend it. I shrugged. Either one. That was Plan 23. He could activate one statue and it would start activating its brethren all over the city. Until there was an army. It's dangerous though. You know how unpredictable automatons are. Uh-huh, he agreed. We had some bad experiences with automatons. You're seriously thinking about activating it? I have Daedalus's notes, I told him. I think I can, here we go, I said, after shuffling through some papers. I pressed the tip of Seward's boot, and the statue stood up, looking ready for my instruction. What's he going to do? Percy asked me. Take a memo? Shush! Hello, William? Bill, Percy suggested. Bill? Oh, shut up, I told Percy. The statue blinked its metal eyes and turned its head slightly to the left. I almost laughed because that's a movement Percy made when he was confused as well. I cleared my throat. Hello, Governor Steward? Command sequence, Daedalus 23, defend Manhattan. Begin activation. The automaton jumped off the pedestal and cracked the ground with his stone sneakers. Then he clanked off towards the east. He's probably going to wake up Confucius, I guessed aloud. What? Another statue on division. The point is, they'll keep waking each other up until they're all activated. And then, hopefully they'll defend Manhattan. Do they know we're not the enemy? I think so. That's reassuring. Yeah, Percy, way to be positive. There were thousands of statues, and if they attacked us, well, we would lose the war. But I trusted my mother's judgment. She was the goddess of wisdom, after all. Somewhere over the East River, an explosion broke out. Greek fire. That was serious. We needed to get a move on things. We have to hurry. Percy mirrored my thoughts, and we ran for the Vespa. We ended up where the Hudson and East Rivers came together in the bay. I stared at the sandwich wrappers and plastic bottles sadly. Too much pollution. It was a good thing Grover wasn't here. He was all about caring for the environment. Wait here, Percy told me. Percy, you shouldn't go alone. I didn't want anything to happen to him. It was possible. He is a seaweed brain after all. Well, unless you can breathe underwater. I sighed. You are so annoying sometimes. Like when I'm right? Trust me, I'll be fine. I've got the curse of Achilles now. I'm all invincible and stuff. I wasn't convinced. He still had some weak point, wherever it was. Just be careful. I don't want anything to happen to you. I mean, because we need you for the battle. I added that last part really fast. He grinned, back in a flash. Ugh, how had I been so stupid? Why did I say that? My thoughts were interrupted when my phone buzzed in my pocket, and I eagerly picked it up. Hello? Annabeth? It's MCLEOD. His voice was muffled and staticky. What's wrong? There's another army marching over the bridge. So you need help to hold it up? It's just that it's being led by the Minotaur and... Okay, I understand. We'll be there as quick as we can. I saw Percy begin to rise from the water. Thanks, Annabeth. Bye. Bye. When I looked up again, Percy was standing next to me. It worked. The rivers are safe. Good, I told him thankfully. Because we've got other problems. MCLEOD just called. Another army is marching over the Williamsburg Bridge. The Apollo cabin needs help. And Percy, the monster leading the army? It's the Minotaur. The Minotaur had been Percy's first, well, actually second monster. Even though Percy had defeated him before, it was rematch time now. It was back from Tartarus, along with the other monsters. I gulped, realizing things would surely get much worse. The problems were just beginning.